What's up, guys? My name is David Weisman. We just recorded a cool episode on Digging In about perspective, the journey, the love of it, the passion. I hope you guys love it, and I hope I meet you guys sometime too.
David Weisman.
My man.
What's up? How you doing, man?
It's a pleasure being here.
We are going to dig in and we're going to talk shop.
I love it.
We're going to talk shop.
Let's do it. I love it.
All right. So we know you as the guy you are today,
Mm-hmm.
right? Take me back. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How did it all start?
So it really started with the sneakers. Sneakers was my main passion from, I'd say like when I was 8 or 9 years old. I started seeing Michael Jordan's, like, Nike basketball shoes, Adidas, and it started with nostalgia because I would look at pictures from my mom and my dad and how they would dress me, and I try to do that myself, And it just started with that, and I started selling sneakers, buying sneakers, was very passionate about that, along with sports and other things like that. But the sneakers got me into the reselling and the selling community, and I started going to events and conventions at an early age. We're talking 9 or 10 years old. And I had some success with it. I don't know what was in my little blood or something like that just made me good at it. But I started loving it, loving the community, loving the whole, everything about just buying something, being right, selling it, and moving on and meeting the people I met. So this was 12, 13, along with me playing sports, which were the real vision my parents had for what I wanted to do and where I was going to go and stuff like that. And started selling shoes and found some success with that and just build off that. So SneakerCon was the first convention in the University of Miami. I went with a couple of my friends, got dropped off by my mother, and I'll never forget it. She told me, you have 2 hours, you have $100, and I'll see you, right? See you later. So we had an amazing time. I don't know what I did with that $100, but whatever I did worked out, and I went back for the next one. It was in Houston. So I started traveling, and my mom took me on a plane, and we started going to these conventions, and I met a lot of cool people at an early age. And that's what helped me, because it wasn't a very popular space. It was a space where people, to be honest with you, if you had money or if you knew somebody that was associated with a brand or something like that, then you were tipped off and good luck,
Back up one sec, because I actually skipped over an important part a minute ago in the introduction.
Yes.
Put this in context, right?
Yes.
So it's you're an entrepreneur,
right?
And you're involved in several things.
Right.
So you just told us about like the way that you began, but just frame it real quick before you go back to the story. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing right now?
So I'm a luxury goods broker. So I buy and sell different apparels, footwear, collectibles, mainly now vintage. Vintage realm, it could be vintage collectibles, mostly vintage t-shirts. So they call me like a t-shirt broker.
Okay.
In essence.
So it's a unique space.
Yes, it's a very unique space. It's a very newer space too. Vintage goes back years and years and years, but the collecting and the connoisseurs have really been present over the last 5 years. 5 years is...
So that's the guy we know you as now.
Yes.
Right, so now go back.
Okay.
And you're doing very well. You're really successful with it.
Yeah, so I'm in the top 2% on eBay for vintage resale.
Okay.
So
now go back,
yes,
and tell us where that started, and bring me through the entire thing to how you got to where you are right now.
Okay, so when
I'll be back in a half hour.
Yeah, no, that's what it really is. Like it honestly started with the sneakers. Went into high school, started dealing with a lot more product. So I had more sneakers, and somebody came up to me at an early age and was like, "Hey, man, vintage snapbacks." Partially due to the artists, the entertainers at that time, Mac Miller, Wiz Khalifa. That realm of rappers and stylists and a lot of people in that space were very popular, and they were wearing vintage Pirates hats or vintage wherever state they were from. They would be repping their brand.
That nostalgia is a big deal.
Yeah, that nostalgia is what got people in.
Feel that for something.
100%.
Yeah, you tapped into something really important.
100%. So that's what it really was for me. I love the shoes, but it wasn't about the money, and it was never about the money. The margins are great with the shoes, but the search and the find for the vintage is second to none for me. It's truly something that I enjoy from every part of it, and I love absolutely meeting the people I've met. So it's from
That's interesting.
people like Pete Davidson that I've sold to, from people like Tyler Hero on the Heat. So it's all different realms.
Wait, you can't glaze over that. Back up. So these people are finding you?
Yeah, so I've been very present on Instagram now for 4 or 5 years. David Weisman on Instagram. But I've been very present on Instagram, and I've had a couple bones thrown my way, a couple people in New York that I've done a lot of business with that, just suggested some people shop with me or contact me. And a lot of the stuff with the vintage, right, Matt, is like, I don't have quantity of some pieces. So some pieces I'll only have one of, and that's the last time I'll ever see something even close to that. So that's why a lot of the clients that I have now, they, stay very alert in terms of my updates and stuff with that, with the products and stuff. So it's a lot of reference base.
Yeah, you really are like, it's almost like you're one of a kind.
Well, that's what vintage is one of a kind. And there's not just me who sell vintage, and that's what's cool about it. It's more of a Armageddon rather than a Renaissance, or a Renaissance rather than an Armageddon.
What do you mean by that?
That it's not a competitive in terms of like trying to cut each other. Like there's no, like when you sell Nikes, if you own a Champs, I can own a Champs too, and that's more retail stuff. But in terms of the shoes, a lot of these reseller stores, which are amazing for the culture, they're amazing, but they're very competitive in trying to beat each other's prices. For vintage, who knows if you'll ever see another piece like that? So it's about appreciating the piece and there's really no competition, Everyone has their own way of investing into the vintage and finding the vintage. That's what's the cool thing. You got to know what
it's like artwork, though.
It is.
I'm listening to you talk. Even the way you refer to it as a piece, I mean, it's art.
It truly is.
And the person that's buying it.
And its rarest form. That's what it is.
It's looking at it the same way.
I have buddies that hang T-shirts on the wall like art. They buy a $1,000 Janet Jackson T-shirt and they'll hang it over their TV and as a piece.
This stuff goes up in value,
yes.
Like artwork.
Yes. The more years that go by, the more it goes up in value.
Do you find that you've sold something to somebody, then they come back to you and they go, hey, can you sell it again?
Of course. I have a lot of clients that I'll sell product to, and they'll be like, hey, look, Dave, you gave me a good deal. I'm looking to sell it. Yeah, I'll be like, no problem. That's what's fun about this whole thing is that you meet different people that are in it for different reasons. I have clients that have tons of product that they've bought off me. Not one thing has touched their body. It's because they love the fact that they're possibly never going to find it again. Never say never in this realm. Never say never.
Go back. Bring me back. So we're talking, no, it's all good, man. We're talking shoes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story though. You got some sports weaved in. So kind of like.
Yes. So when I was selling the shoes, it took up a lot of my time. So we're talking sneaker conventions every weekend, Fort Lauderdale, Houston, Miami, New York. And I was playing serious travel baseball at the time. And my dad, who was a big sports fan, still is, was really pushing that because he knew how good I was, respectfully, humbly speaking, but like at that age. And I had a lot of energy towards it. And I was starting to compete with this new entrepreneurship that I took on. And I'm lucky that I got enough time to do both because that's what I tell everyone. Everything is good in moderation, and unless, you really want to be passionate and invest everything you have into one area, but you got to try stuff. It's the beauty about being able to do what I'm doing is that sometimes I make mistakes and I learn from that, but I tried and I know that, you know what I'm saying?
That's key to business, man.
It's very key.
It's so important.
Yeah. And I'm nowhere near,
owner.
Exactly. I'm nowhere near where I want to be consistently in terms of just maintaining the business that I have for years and years to come because you have to put the work in. But that's exactly where I'm at with my mindset now. And going back to that time, I wish I had more time because there's days I think about playing baseball and I miss it so much. But yes, I was really big into the baseball. So baseball tournament, St. Augustine. This is the same time I'm starting to get into the shoes. I'm like checking text in between innings, like seeing if my product was dropped off. Like I'm talking like 13, 14 years old.
So 14 years old, you're running the business from the baseball field.
Yeah. From the dugout. And my dad's like looking over, like seeing like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
But, knowing your family, he's probably proud that you're making money
yes.
while you're playing baseball.
Yes.
But he wants his cut.
Yes, exactly. He was like, dude, and well, that's a funny story. So let me tell you that.
Go ahead.
At that same time is when he was helping me financially. Obviously a pair of shoes came out, Jordans, $180 retail. Buy them, I could sell them for $300. So I come home one day. This is literally after baseball practice. This is perfect segment right into this. Come home one day after baseball practice. I go right to foot action. And my mom taught me this. She was like, honey, you play baseball, so you're not going to be able to be available that much to go and get the product. So you're going to have people get it for you. I'm thinking in my room like, damn, she's right. She's right. Yeah. So I went to foot action one day, got dropped off, didn't tell my mom what I was doing, took a $10 bill, and I went up to the lady. I said, hey, I have baseball practice on Saturday, but here's a 10 if you can hold me the shoes till 4. Swear, true story. Foot action at the Coral Square Mall. Don't want to say her name because hope she's still doing well. And so I went to the store and my shoes were right there for $10. This was 2000, and this has got to be what? I'm 26 now, so 13 years ago.
Okay.
So, and I was like, oh my God, that actually worked. So I came home and I'm like, oh my God, I can be in 2 places at two different times. That surely didn't last that long, but I started getting the understanding of how this whole business worked, and that it's a lot of the times about who you know, and that's why I reference all the people that I've met and at an early age for me, because now they're in positions where they can get me certain product, and it was just because of loyalty. That's where it was. They always know that. And I used to go by uncle back in the day, which is very funny. Before 12 started, because I am a proud uncle of 3 nieces and 3 nephews, but everyone knew me as the kid that was an uncle at like 10 years old. You know what I'm saying? So when they would, and I would post online and stuff like that, and it got real. And baseball was my passion, and our high school was very good. I went to North Broward Prep. We won 2 state championships, and we were great, and it was.
And you were doing this all along?
All throughout high school. I was maintaining presence on eBay, and at that time, Craigslist was very, very big for connecting with local sellers and buyers. And that's what.
Yeah, that was huge.
That's what I was telling you before, is that locally, sourcing my product locally and selling my product locally is very, very cool for me. I'm a big Broward County guy to the day I'm done with this stuff. But yeah, it was very cool for me meeting the types of people in my town. And I feel like, if you're going to be successful, you got to start from where you're from, and that's like the true essence.
It's old school. Just go in your own backyard.
Exactly.
And there's so much business, especially where you live.
And that was what was
cool.
Tons
of business.
And that's what was cool. It was receptive. It was everyone was loving what I was doing. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm selling shoes, and then family members were starting to contact me. Hey, how can we find this? And it was fun. It was a way of connecting with certain people, and it wasn't too serious, but it was getting the job done. And I was able to, laugh along the way. And I felt like, when I was in different positions in school, mindsets like what I want to do, do I want to be a doctor or a lawyer? That wasn't fun for me. Thank the Lord that there's doctors and lawyers, but that for me. Yeah,
but also your family is entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Right? So you had, like, I'm jotting words down that I'm going to come back at you with in a few minutes.
Cool.
Because it's amazing to me that you've got some of the things that you're saying at the age that you were and are.
Right.
But knowing the family you come from, right? You're surrounded by creativity, ideas, like. It's outside the box.
No, it's a blessing.
It's not go to school, get a good job.
Right.
That's not where you come from.
No, and that's the thing too. Well, my family.
By the way, go to school, get a good job is important.
That's what I was about to say.
But not for him.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. My family, they're very present in diverse fields. My brother went to Michigan, and he at first was very fond of the medical field and wanted to explore that, and then somehow, because he was very passionate about business, got into investing in hedge funds and stuff like that. And my other brother was very passionate about what our father was doing at the time, and decided, you know what, I'm going all in on this. So a lot of it was gut. It's just going with your gut. And that's like one thing I tell all my friends that and my family, like, you have to listen to your gut, because the only person that truly knows yourself is you.
It's you. That's it.
It's you. And if you go with your gut and you let yourself fail, I know this is going to sound crazy, but if you learn, like, how can you ever really truly learn how to win unless you fail?
You gotta fail.
You don't know how it tastes.
You gotta fail.
And when I was in school, I was putting too much time into the wrong things, which then led me to thinking, okay, you know what? When I say that, I was referencing not paying enough attention to baseball or not paying attention to the shoes. And I wasn't putting my all into one. And that's the one piece of advice that I give everyone as well, is that when you find that and you listen to your gut, try it and see it through. And if you make a mistake, it's okay.
Listen to your gut and pick one thing.
Yes. Yes.
I'm telling you, you're like 20 years ahead of your age.
You know what? And that's what
that's old school advice usually given by people that have been in a business for 20, 30 years. And they learned that. It took them forever to learn it. You know it now. You're going to like, wherever you're at now, you're going to fucking 20X soon.
And you know what? Thank you, my man, because I appreciate that. And I try every day and I work every day into keeping my mindset very consistent, because that's what it is. There's days where I wake up and I'm like, I have 40 orders on eBay. 30 of them are asking me where the tracking is, this and that. Like, oh my God, what? But then I think in that split second, like, I'm doing what I love. And I knew from the beginning, if I tried this out and I gave myself a certain time frame, you have to have a realistic time frame for yourself. Or unless the theory is no good. But, but everything is good in moderation. And if you're passionate about the direction you want to go into, you will then make changes about that and you'll go all in, And that's where it really started.
I got to bounce some of this off you. So first of all, I'm hearing there's been a lot of support from your family, especially your mom, early on.
Yes.
Right? That's important.
My mom was the driving horse behind this whole thing. And my father was too. But she fell in love with me falling in love with something. And it was different than what all my friends were doing. My friend, it's not like we were so young. It's not like they were artists or this or that, but it was something different, and my mom was explaining to all of her friends that she would go and drop me off at the mall, and I'd come back and have a pair of shoes that I just sold. Actually, pause that story for a second. So what I was saying before with my father, when I went to that mall that day and I gave that lady a $10 bill, I sold those shoes for $300. But the shoes retailed for $180. I came home, I said, Dad, I made $300. He said, no, you didn't. The shoes were $180. You sold them for $300. You didn't make $300.
So they're pretty good.
Where's my money? Yeah. I go, what do you mean? You gave it to me. That's how I bought the shoe. And I sold it. He goes, yes, David, but in business, you don't keep all of it for profit.
Yeah.
You give me back what I gave you.
Right.
I said, I didn't know that's how it works.
You're going to pay for the supplies.
And I'm like, oh my God, like I got to give him back what I paid. Like I'm not too hot.
It's an important lesson.
I just wanted to say that real quick.
It's an important lesson.
Yeah, exactly. So, but at that same time, that's when my mom was really helpful with a lot of the stuff. Not just realizing what's profit, but just realizing where and when and how I can go about doing this. So she set up my eBay page. It was David Sells Shoes. That was my first eBay page.
You still have it?
No, I don't. When I went to college, I kind of rebranded everything, as you would hope. But David Sells Shoes had, I think, it had north of 500 sales for sure. So you thinking like 100 sales a year in high school, and a little bit before that, and some of my mom's, because this didn't just start out of nowhere. My mom's a shopper too.
What did you make in high school? Totally. Did you ever stop and say, okay, when I was in high school, all the stuff I did, I made a total of $100,000?
No, it wasn't close to that, because at that time, I was selling a lot of other stuff. So I would sell like baseball gloves, or like bats, or like anything that I had that was older, where like if I had a reason to list it, I could. I'm telling you, Matt, like I got to the point where like I would have listed my sock. You know what I mean?
I'll give you $20 for the right one.
Yeah. It was at that point where I love the community of buying and selling. And so to reference what you were saying, I never really got an understanding of the gross, what I sold. But it was north of 500 sales for sure. I remember at one point in college, I looked back on the page, even though I rebranded, I had the numbers and all the logistics. It was bumping. It was. Dude,
so you're in school, you're making more money than your friends.
Yeah.
Your friends aren't making any money.
That's part of this whole thing, is that like when I was in college, I came home from school one time, and as any college kid that's a freshman at the University of Florida, having a good time, partying, doing the whole thing responsibly.
Is that what goes on in college?
Yeah, responsibly.
You weren't studying?
No, responsibly. Yeah, everything, like I said, everything's good in moderation.
A little balance.
Yeah, right. So, but no, when that went down, I came home and I'm like, okay, I gotta really make this a business, because I'm making money and my friends aren't. And I wasn't like saying it like that, like, oh, I gotta keep doing that, but like something I'm doing is working, and we're scratching, and in college, I came from a blessed, very fortunate lifestyle. But my parents, when I went to school, sayonara, you got to build your life. So when I went and I started calming down when I went to college, this is a good leeway segment into that. When I went from high school.
Hang on one sec. I want to bounce some of these words off of you.
100%.
So I got to support, but you gave me two more just now. I feel a ton of gratitude coming from you.
Yeah, for sure.
And you allude to things like frequently
For
about
sure.
I'm blessed, and it's like that's a huge part of not losing the grounding, right, where you
No.
come from. But it's for real. I can feel it coming from you.
100%.
Right? That there's a lesson in that,
Mhm.
right? And you were successful very young, so and because you come from a background of means,
For sure.
you could easily be like, oh, this is just I'm entitled. It's whatever. Not the case, man.
No,
I'm feeling
no.
tons of gratitude, which is awesome. That's a great message to point out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I reference, like, I'm very fond of like the local atmosphere and sourcing product locally and doing business locally, is because I don't forget where I came from. That's like the one thing. And it's very cliche to say that in a sense, but it's not for me, because it's the 100% utmost truth. Like, my father and my mother, if they weren't as cool as they were in layman's terms, as cool as they were, like, I don't know if I would be doing this, because they gave me the understanding of, if it's working, not just because you like it, but if it's working and you like it, go for it.
Passion and purpose.
Exactly. So I totally shout out mom and dad, but no, I totally am on the same page as, not the same page. I totally agree with you. Yes.
So you're mentioning people that are sports figures, that are celebrities, but at the same time, you're very humble.
Yes. Yes.
And you are actually a very humble guy.
That's like one
Again,
of
you
the,
can feel it being in your presence, right?
I appreciate you.
Which is
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
I appreciate
right? Because
you.
those are two opposite things. That can go to your head very easily.
Yeah, no, this realm
it
is very show offy. And that's why I keep it like the people who know what I do. That's what I was saying to you before. I do marketing because you have to at this
You got to
point.
get known.
Yes. Shout out Carol. But I do
of
marketing.
shout-outs,
Yeah, there's a lot of shout outs. You know, I pay respect. I tip my cap. I tip my cap where I need to. That's another thing, you know, is like, I didn't just do this on my own. I have a small team, but I got to where I'm at now because of the people that are in my life. And I'm
So
truly,
back to gratitude.
yes, exactly. Truly thankful for that. And that's a lot of people that have success at an early age, you know? A lot of these bloggers or these Instagram guys, you know, stuff like that. Even if you don't like them or this or that, like most of them are always paying homage to the people around them, because that's what it really is. It's
You
like,
have to.
And in this vintage world, we're selling vintage apparel. So we're technically paying homage to the past. You know what I'm saying? By
That's the business.
appreciating.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's why I think I love it so much, is that like it brings me back to what came prior. And everyone's inspired off something, you know? Like Tommy Hilfiger didn't just start from Tommy Hilfiger. He was inspired from Polo. You know, there's things like that, you know?
I just thought about something.
Yeah.
Do you in any way think there's a connection to the fact that, you know, what your dad did, that's all about nostalgia now, right? Because that time is past in certain ways, right? So it's almost like your family, a lot of the things you guys do is based around nostalgia. It's based around something from the past, but it's still in the present. You know
100%.
what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Do you think there's something to that? Like why you're a very nostalgic person?
I think so, for sure. And not only just for the direct analogy of what I'm about to say, but my father, when he was on the road at the end of his traveling career and
Tell
stuff
everybody
like that.
what you're talking about.
So my father represented Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack, Stephen Eady, Don Rickles, Aaron Carter, Hilary Duff,
Liza Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli. A lot. Thank you.
Sammy
Davis Jr.
Right.
Not all of them, but Dean Martin.
Yeah.
A lot of the older acts
Very
that
nostalgic
really
now.
represented how music and how that whole scene was, how to do it the right way. And I saw my dad at the end. He represented Engelbert Humperdinck, which is that's a funny time, because it was where I was getting into all this stuff, and I realized what was going on. And I would tell my friends, "Oh, I'm going to an Engelbert show." They'd be like, "What? Who?
Yeah, who's that?"
And, yeah, right. What are you talking about? Engelbert Humperdinck? And when I went on tour with my dad for a summer, we went to 15 different shows, and I was with my dad the whole time. I would run the merch booth. This is how, like,
there's a connection.
A straight connection. That's what I was about to say. And also, besides that, yes, his space is very much based off reference, and it's about handshake deals and street cred. Okay, there's no criteria.
And you mentioned loyalty.
Yes,
I wanted to get to that too, because I know it's a big part of your dad's way of doing things.
Oh my God.
And your brothers as well.
100%.
Your sister. So it's all about loyalty. But so now, as you're bringing all these names of entertainers into the conversation, right? So now that's all nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all gone.
Exactly.
Or most of them are gone. So it's nostalgia.
Exactly.
But it's still living on today.
Exactly.
Huge pop culture, right?
Oh my God.
And so is it a coincidence that you're so nostalgic and this is what your business is?
You know what? I don't think so. I really don't
Did you ever think
so.
about that?
No, you know what? I haven't really. And that's why I'm thinking about it as we're talking right now, that I haven't really, thought about the correlation per se, buyer in itself, but I've definitely acknowledged the fact that where I came from with and the experiences I've had with my father have helped me understand how passionate I am of what I'm doing right now because of the ability of living through that and seeing how cool it is when you love what you do. It's not working, and he had a ton of relationships that were built off of handshake deals. And there's no criteria for selling vintage. You can't go online and see a rubric that's like going to tell you how to do this stuff. And it wasn't for him either. It was a lot of the times was being able to do this, talk shop and keep your word. A lot of this is keeping your word and making sure at the end of the day, no matter what business is done, you and the client's not buying apparel off me. He's shopping because he wants to buy with me. He's not.
The client is buying the feeling. The emotions of you're like a conduit to the product.
Exactly. You can
They can get the product if they wanted to, but they want to deal with you.
Exactly.
So all of us that are in business, that is what the business
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And at the end of the day, it's a little bit different in my dad's business because if you didn't want to deal with my dad, you ain't getting to Sinatra. But
yeah, some
different, right?
Leverage,
yeah, exactly. No, but in the sense that it's similar.
Funny.
It's similar because you can go about getting to certain people in certain areas of certain fields if you play your cards the right way. But if you are a good dude and you go about it with honor and you go about it with integrity and you care about the deals, it'll pay off. And that's one thing that I really try and tell all of my friends and family just from my personal experience because I'm learning so much every day. I was talking to Anthony earlier. I was learning a lot, just from improv and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's just so cool. I love that. I love that because it's very much you're just coming from your head and you're talking from your heart, and it's just, I love that. That's why I love doing stuff like this, especially with you. It's just we're just talking shop.
We're done. That's it.
We're done, right? Yeah. No, but that's what it is. And it's just at the end of the day, if you really can feel like you made an impact on a relationship, then that's it. That's it. And I feel like a lot of my clients know that it's put the t-shirts aside and put the hats aside, and obviously you got to keep it business most of the time and sometimes, but they feel like they have a friend and they feel like they have a relationship that's real.
It's trust,
it's not just exactly. And
that impact is a great word.
And exactly. And that's why I always reference the local clients and the local people who found me locally, supported me locally, have showed me other people in this space. And what I was saying earlier about the Renaissance, it truly is. I have so many cool people that sell vintage. My best friends, Alan Yermakov and Morris Brenson, they have a shop in Fort Lauderdale, L&F Vintage. We do so much business together and it's beautiful. It's really cool. And one of my friends was just talking to me about this the other day. Is there any compete or something like that? No, because guess what? If I have a Leonardo DiCaprio shirt from 1995, what are the chances that he has it? And if he has it, then he'll find a client too. It's not like you could just go online and buy a Louis Vuitton bag. They'll have those in 52 different branch stores in America. They might not have that Leo shirt.
You ever stop and realize the inspiration that you are to people? You're 20.
I hope I am 26 years old.
26.
Yes.
So think about that.
What
you're doing,
I hope.
And the things that the words you're saying, mindset you mentioned. So, we can see now that you come from a family and an environment where this is what's supposed to happen to a guy like you. You of course you're going to think this way, but you're taking it. And you're actually doing something, you're creating, you're building, you have ideas, and you're doing something with it.
No,
that's inspirational to a lot of people.
I appreciate you, Matt. Thank you.
Because people tend to not do that. They just, I have an idea, and they move on, and they go back to work.
Because it's harder not to do it.
And you said before, do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that. And that was something that was powerful because you're 26 years old. Your friends are out there probably hanging out and doing different things than you are, right? Getting their paycheck, getting drunk on the weekends, doing whatever.
Sure.
You're working,
sure.
You're building, you're creating, right?
For sure.
That does inspire other people that are your age. And not only that, but everybody who's going to watch this is going to be inspired. Wow, look what this guy's doing.
That's really cool.
Right?
Yeah,
do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I do. No, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I always know that there's someone out there that can really, really be inspired. Or not inspired, yes, but be driven to do something. I guess that's the same
Your
sense.
Inspiration creates motivation.
You know what? And that's where I'm going with this, is that I didn't just get here because I just flipped a coin and said, okay, let's do it. I started, and like I said, there was times where there was trials and tribulations. It wasn't as easy as as it looks, you know, but that's why it's cool where I'm at now, because I relate. I understand where it is. There's a lot of people that don't have it the easiest route. They don't get, you know, handouts. Like I said, if it wasn't for my mother and father, I don't know if I would be here. I probably wouldn't be here because they were so passionate about me exploring whatever excitement I had in this realm and going for it. And there's not a lot of people that do that. There's not a lot, not do that, that have that. And
that's uncommon.
No, it's not.
It's
very uncommon. It's very uncommon. It's not that popular to be in that position where, you know, you're doing something outside the norm and someone's very supportive of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a blessing. I think about it all the time. I do, but in terms of the inspiration, that's my goal, is that one day I can look back on this and say, hey, you did something really cool. And not only that, you were successful for yourself, but other people saw the blueprint. They saw what you did. And I struggled early on with confidence. I struggled early on with being able to, yeah, you know, because I didn't think what I was doing was like cool. Like I was just doing it because I liked it. And people didn't understand, you know, when I was in college and I came back home and people are studying for their masters in this and CPA this and doctor this and this, that. And I'm at a sneaker convention selling shoes for $80 profit. Like, you know, somebody's
but that's the story.
Like, that's what's cool.
That's the story.
So I struggle like with consistent mindset. That's why when we say mindset, like, yes, I took on that personality. Like, you know what? Let's do this. Like, but it didn't come just like overnight. It came with training my mind to not care what certain people do.
What do you do? How do you do that?
You know what it is?
What is it?
You just don't care. And that's what it is. Like you get to the point where you literally spend enough time with yourself mentally, where you tell yourself, no matter what you do, as long as you know you're doing it for yourself and your family and you're doing it in good spirits, that's what I was saying. If you make a mistake, mistakes are good sometimes. That's what Virgil Abloh,
talk about that.
A big inspiration that I have and that I had, he just recently passed away. But mistakes are good. They're a good thing because you learn and you learn how to go about it a different way. And sometimes what you learn from a mistake is that maybe your mindset wasn't as clear the first time. And now you can go and you alter, you know, how you go about certain things. And the craft for me, the logistics and learning how to build and like I said, I'm not too techie. So learning how to market myself and learning all of that, like the flow and just getting into the whole scene for me is how I really trained myself. And mentally, after I got to a certain point where I found some success, that helps a lot. That helps a lot. when you start realizing what you're putting out is being accepted and people are referencing you and they're like, hey, look, I got this cool t-shirt. I got this cool hat off so-and-so. Why don't you go and tap in with him? Or why don't you go and see what he's got? You know?
When did that start happening?
That started happening like right when I got home from college, my sophomore year. And I was like, you know what? I don't have that much money. I need to start branding myself as a company. Ago. Yes. So no, I graduated college 2017. So my sophomore year was 2014. So we're almost like 8 years ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's happens.
That's when I realized. Like,
that's when it started happening.
Okay. Like right now I gotta go.
You did the shoes. You did some other things. You did like whatever you could find in the garage. Mm-hmm. You sold everything you had. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm.
Not that I have. I would go to garage sales. Sorry to interrupt. I would go to garage sales. Yeah, dude. Picture frames for $9, like anything, dude. I got into the point now where I was starting to sell like some weird stuff. But that's what people are buying. That's what taught me like how to go about this. Is that like some people don't even realize what's like desirable, you know, and like the vintage space wasn't too tapped into at that point. So when I started having consistency mentally, knowing that what I'm doing is it's okay that I'm doing something outside the norm. And that's, you know, where I tell a lot of people right now, like one of my buddies is going through it right now, a very, very smart, very individual, works at a very successful law firm, this and the third, you know, but he's very passionate about other stuff that might not be the most popular or understanding for our parents or stuff like that to get around to. And I just told him, hey, look, when you can be comfortable with yourself fully and know that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, if you love what you do and you can tell yourself that every day, because it's easy to tell yourself that one day. And I don't wake up 365 days of the year and I'm like Gandhi, you know, it ain't Gandhi every day, but that's the thought process, is that like, you know, at the end of the day, you only got yourself and you got the people around you, but yourself is key. And taking that mentality and telling yourself that every day is very big, because who's going to do it if you don't?
Nobody. You got to do it. People struggle with that.
Yeah,
It's a big
that's what it
struggle
is.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm still struggling with it sometimes here and there, but
you
I'm
got
able
a way.
to lead.
Like, you're directing it. Like, it still ends up you're directing it in a positive way.
Right.
And you've got you figured out ways to get around it for yourself that work for you.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's the best thing is that I invest into the right people. And for a while, there's certain people and certain lives that you can always be friends with or always have in your life, but to a certain extent, I had amazing family, like we were saying earlier. All of my family from the beginning was very supportive of me, and I invested that happiness and that success back into them, and that's what's helped me with the longevity of how I'm able to stay consistent on eBay now. I'm doing serious work because I have a serious team that's able to help me, But besides that, it wouldn't get to that point if I didn't have my family.
Connect the dots from that 8 years ago, because we still have a gap. Right. So there's 8 years ago.
Yes, to today.
And then there's today, but there's some things that you had some steps along the way that oh, this is good. Oh, this is better. Oh, wow, this is really working now.
I got you.
Give me those steps.
I got you. So when I went so in college, my sophomore year, I started selling a lot. Junior year, I take this internship at the Friars Club in New York. The Friars Club is a comedic club, but it's a hangout spot. Yeah. Very historic gig and venue.
Super famous place.
Very, very, very famous place. And they have A-list members. It's an unbelievable brick and mortar hangout spot. It really is. And it's a gym on one floor, entertainment club on one.
By the way, very nostalgic place.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Again.
So I started working
there. They
there.
had the old roast with Dean Martin.
Yeah, the roast. That's where they did it. The roast. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I was blanking out. Thank you. They do the Comedy Central roast.
And it was all the same people. It was all Sinatra. Yeah. It was the Rat Pack.
All those guys.
You see them on reruns now. That's the place you worked.
Exactly. So I worked there from 2013 to 2016. I worked there for 3 summers in a row.
Who'd you see get roasted when you were working there?
Tony Bennett was very cool because he was a little older.
Yeah.
And the roasters were who's the bald dude, Jeff? He was on Saturday Night Live. There's a couple comedians. We'll go back. I'll think of him as.
Were they were giving him a hard time?
Yeah, dude, and straight. Yeah, no, he that was the funny part. Right. It's some he got, and some he was you really said that to me right now. I'm not, dude. I'm 89. This is different than Jimmy Fallon. Right. You can't say that, but no, but it's cool because you see how that all goes down.
You saw Bennett get roasted. Who else
I saw Tony Bennett. I saw Magic Johnson. That was very cool.
That was probably interesting.
That was very cool because that was on ESPN, and I'm a sports guy.
Okay.
So that was that was seeing the production of that was very cool. Magic Johnson. I saw one more. They were planning a big one right before because I had to go back to school.
What'd you do there?
So I was just in charge of the marketing. So the Instagram page. And I'm over here saying I don't know about marketing, but go to that club, a historic club, and tell them about Instagram, Twitter. They'll look at you like,
what's that?
Who's that?
Right.
They'll say, who's that? Yeah. So I just started basically just putting out their sweaters and their back to merch.
It's the same thing.
Back to merch. Yes, it's the same. It's the same. It's funny as we're sitting here, I'm starting to realize this. Isn't that crazy? I didn't even take the time to think about your journey.
That's what the show's about.
Yeah, exactly.
We're digging in.
It's unbelievable. I was sitting here, I'm thinking about oh wow, this all does tie in. Mm-hmm. But yes, so I'm doing that, and I'm working at the Friars Club, and a buddy came into the Friars Club. Not a buddy, somebody that worked there that was turned into my buddy, and he has this Supreme keychain. This just a keychain that says Supreme, and I knew of Supreme in high school because I started buying and selling it a little bit, but it just stood out for me. I was like, oh hey, nice keychain. He was like, oh yeah, they just came out, down the street. I go, oh, nice. He goes, yeah, I was lucky I got one, they're going for $200. I go, what?
Boom, there's your
$200 for that keychain? He was like, yeah, I bought it for $20. I sold it for $200. Paraphrase a little bit, but that was the holy crap, what? What are you talking about? How can I get that?
Right.
So he's like, oh, well, you got to go on Thursdays, 11 o'clock, and stand in line or know someone that's got it. And this is 2014, 15. And I, as a true Floridian, was like, all right, I got to get 5 other people there. I got to find a way not just to get one, but I got to get all of it, or as much as I can. So I literally paid 2 of the busboys at the Friars Club Thursday morning to call out sick and go and do it. And I don't know if I should be saying
that's
this,
great.
But yeah. And they went and they got me. The next release wasn't a keychain. It was a t-shirt, stuff like that. $32. I sold each t-shirt for $300. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, all right, not calling my mom and dad, telling them. They're calling me, how's the internship? Oh, I love it. Love what I'm learning. Love this, like that. And I did. At the end of the day, I did love it. You know, the Friars Club was
Wherever
amazing.
you go, you make money by selling.
That's the theory. That's the theme of this.
Follows you, it finds
the theme of this. Yes, and that was what I noticed, is that like, holy crap, like I'm at the point now where no matter where you put me, I'm just gonna hustle still. Respectful hustle. Like I'm not, you know, some people abuse that word, but like I love it because that's what it is. Like, you know, like no one's telling, like I say again, there ain't no rubric for this. Like no one's telling you do this, 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 and this, and that's how it's gonna go.
At the end of every show, I say be humble and hustle. And do the work.
I love that.
So I'm not going to say it then. I'm saying it now. You just said it. Be humble, hustle, and do the work are 3 things you've said so far in this conversation. It's awesome. Very, very true.
Yeah. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, man.
You know? Exactly. So I love it. So I was
Friar Club.
So I was doing the Friars Club. I was doing that. And then I was like, okay, you know, go back to school. Same routine. Was blessed enough that they loved me over there. And I had a good repertoire with the head guy over there. So was a joy coming back. And I was working, I was doing the marketing, posting their stuff on Instagram. They had like 80 followers when I started there. Thankfully now they have a marketing team and stuff like that. Because at that time though, Instagram was just, it was brand new. Yeah, it was brand new. Instagram and the Twitters and all this stuff was brand new. So getting your brand out there like that was different. And I had some success with the shoes and some stuff like that. So I knew that if they got their content out there, it would help them with everything. And I was just doing that. And then one day the Supreme stuff happened and I started getting really big into the Supreme. And I met my buddy Max Miller is his name. He's very, very integrated with this whole Supreme resale world. And he really showed me the ropes. And that's what I say a lot of the times. I tip my cap.
I don't know what Supreme is. What is it?
You've never heard of Supreme?
No.
Oh my God. So Supreme.
Did I just age myself?
Yeah. Supreme New York is a streetwear brand. It's a skate company, but they're more than that now. They're a lifestyle brand. They have T-shirts, collectibles, pants. They're the king collaborators. So what they do is.
Any of you behind the camera, you guys know Supreme? You guys all know it. I'm the only one in this room that doesn't know Supreme. Okay, I'm back.
So I started selling Supreme a lot, and they actually have a store in LA, and I was traveling to Fairfax every other week. This got to the point where Supreme, my buddy Max, put me onto Supreme, and he'd been put me. I'm not gonna sell myself out short like that. I knew what it was, and I was dealing with it, but not at the level where I was doing it. I started buying box logo T-shirts in 2014 for $100, $200. My mom and dad. This is what I was just about to tell you. I didn't really tell them what I was doing when I was in New York. They knew, obviously, I'm very well grounded, and I wasn't going to do anything that I didn't think was right. But I'm taking the 4 train up to like 190, like in the Bronx.
Harlem, where's the Bronx?
And getting like random stuff, like just like
it's
a Supreme hat. Yeah, no, it coming back.
And you were dressed like this.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little different, but yeah, exactly. And I loved it. I just loved every aspect of it, meeting the new people, seeing what he had, how did he get that, why did he have that, and just finding another person for it. And it was really cool. And so I started doing that 2014, 2015. And I met Max, and he was like, yo, this is what you do. These are the pieces that you invest into Supreme. These are where you go to sell them. There's forums. There's these low-key stores. And then I went to Chinatown. I met this lady. Her name's OG Ma. She's 62 years old. She's from Taiwan. And she has the best Supreme collection in the whole entire world.
Really?
This was
2000. Her name is OG?
OG Ma, she goes by. No one really knows her actual name, but her name is OG Ma. And it was like right out of a movie, dude. In Chinatown on Elizabeth Street. I went down this tunnel, met this lady, and I probably did around $250,000 worth of business with her in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, this is still back in 14, 15?
Yeah. This is when I was in college.
All right, move me forward.
So this is when I was in college.
I can't believe you're doing that.
We started moving a lot of Supreme. So we're talking about like 50, 60 box logos a month. I was on all of these forums just buying anything I could find because I knew that she would pay me even $10, $20 more. So I was just buying everything I could find, and it wasn't just I wasn't spending $250,000. But when you spend money and you make money, you can reinvest into the company. You reinvest into the company.
Wait, I gotta pay you for this stuff so I can sell it again?
So exactly. So the whole thing with my dad, and then it got to the point where I came home and I told my parents what I was doing and how I was really operating, and they're like, "Oh my God, let's do this." So I made a big cartel back then, which was like the website engine where you could just, like, for dummies, you could just go on and just make a website. And I made poweredby12.bigcartel.com. which was my first website at the time. And I didn't honestly have too much success in it because I didn't know about marketing. So people who knew me were buying it, but that can only last so long. You know, you need, the whole idea of a up and coming business is your reach, how far your reach goes and
To
who
get
it gets
known.
to. Yeah, exactly.
Get the word out, get known.
Exactly. So I was at the end of college, right when I was about to graduate, 2016, 2017, where had some success, had a lot of momentum behind me, had to really understand what I was going to do next level. And I came home and I told my parents, hey, I'm not going to work at the Friars Club. My dad's like, what are you talking about? You have a perfect gig in New York. You can go and live there. You love the city. You love the atmosphere. You love the energy. Why are you doing this? You could sell shoes as a hobby. And I said, this is more than a hobby. I know it is. I could tell it is because I know how people want their stuff and I want to open up a store. So at first, my whole idea was to open up a brick and mortar store where I can have it stocked with retailed Nike and Adidas as well as consignment, which is like Supreme and all these brands and stuff like that. And that was the game plan. My parents weren't around it, like weren't supportive of it at first. They were like, no, I think you should do this. No, I think you should do this. Literally graduated December of 2017, came home mid-January. I was working out of my parents' house. They were like, look, you have a couple months. We're not going to get on your case. And I went on Grailed and eBay, and I made my eBay, I made my Grailed, posting at least 100 things a day. I'm talking about like, obviously I was doing more stuff like the sneakers and the shoes and the hats and the apparels, but like I was getting my hands on anything, you know, that like I could flip. And I started doing that. And that's where I really got started. Got the showroom in Deerfield.
About 5 years ago.
Yes. Got my showroom in Deerfield in 2018, March 2018, right after I started really like that. Literally came home December of 2017, graduated from the University of Florida. Parents and I are going barking at each other every day. What are you going to do? Go up to New York. You can only let them know if you're going to do it a certain amount of time. They're going to take the deal off the table. Meanwhile, I'm talking to my buddy at the Friars Club like, yo, I ain't doing this, but I'm just letting you know. And he's like, Dave, we don't want you to do it because we know how successful, we know how passionate you are about this. You're going to be successful. Do what you need to do. The deal will always be there. Meanwhile, my mom and dad are like, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. I come home. Finally, I get them around to just understanding me and hearing me out. In Deerfield, I open up my first showroom, 1761 West Hillsborough Boulevard. I'll never forget it. And I had my unit upstairs, a little bit bigger than this room. And I just started putting racks up. Just racks, and I curated the environment where it was really cool to come in. It was like, damn, whose freaking closet is this? What the hell? Like, where this is in here? And that's where I started reaching out to local athletes and local entertainers. So like Ace Hood, he's a local rapper. I'm not sure if you know who that is. Denzel Curry, he's a local rapper. And
so you reach out to their PR people?
No, dude. I just DM'd them on Instagram.
Okay.
Shout out to DM, but just write direct message right to them directly. And some of them still aren't open to this day. But Denzel Curry was my first. He was a rapper in this area. And he saw my DM and he was like, yeah, I love vintage.
What was it, a picture of the store? Like,
no, I just said in my page, and I just said my Instagram page. I said, hey, I don't know if you're looking for any gear or stuff like that, but I'm in this area. If you ever need anything, let me know. And I sent that copied and paste to probably 2,000 people. Not just in this area, but I focused on this area first. Because like I said earlier, that's like what's key.
Go in your backyard.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that.
So he gets back to you.
He gets back to me.
Does he come out to the store?
He come, yeah, with like 4 or 5 of his buddies. Yeah. Come in. I'm like, dude, I'm sweating. I'm like nervous. I'm like, dude, what's going on? I can't believe this. And then that led towards reference. Like I said to you several times, he referenced to one of his buddies, and then his buddy.
It just spreads.
And then it just spread. So then I was blessed enough to be playing baseball when I was growing up with 2 guys that are in the league. One of which just won the Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India. One of my good friends, and that didn't just happen randomly. He's been working his tail off since we're 8 years old. So it was amazing seeing that. But so he's a ball player, and my other friend, Tuki Toussaint, he's a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And so they were in their journey while I was in my journey. So I would call them and I'd be like, hey, look, like, you know, don't worry about it. I'm gonna take care of you. Just if somebody asks where you got it, put me on. Help me out. Throw me a bone. And
they did it.
Oh, of course. I gave them, you know, a good amount of product from an early start. And they were always very supportive of me. They always would support me and stuff like that. And yeah, that's really how it started.
Have
Then
you tracked though, like what you actually got from each of those relationships? Like you give them something, they put your info out there.
Right.
Did you ever track that? Like,
No, I don't care about that.
Out of curiosity, like to kind of know like what really came of it.
I know what you're saying, but I know what came from it.
Like if those things didn't happen, would this still have happened?
Yes and no. You're absolutely right. A lot of some like certain clients on the Heat and certain clients in the Knicks and stuff like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take care of some of my clients originally.
Right, because they trust each other.
But those two that I referenced, those are my guys.
All right.
They would have helped me no matter
So you got
what.
those two. You got the rapper.
Yeah. And so I have a couple
Anybody else
rappers.
answer that message you
Yeah.
put out?
So my dad's old client, Aaron Carter. He was one of the first that came to when I was at UF. Actually, he came and performed in Gainesville at a dive bar, and he came to the frat after where I was living at the frat house, and he bought like 100 vintage T-shirts at that time, which was in a literal suitcase. I had no shop, just eBay, and my inventory was in a suitcase. So,
all right, so we just like condensed the past 5 years because that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So is that like exponentially like compounding right now? Because now you got a big reach.
Yeah. Well, now, okay. So on Instagram, I have around 4,000 followers, which, like I said, I could be doing more in terms of growing my following, but I am at the point now where I have a good online presence. I focus on meeting new people locally, and that's how I kind of differentiate myself. I sometimes think that clients, when they know that you have such a big reach and that you have so many clients, you can't give yourself that relationship,
That's
what
real
they
niche.
need.
Like you're really.
No, that's what I was saying earlier. Is that
Yeah.
like I don't know if I went too much into detail, which as I should have, but my local clients mean everything to me. They mean the world to me, really. Like I get like emotional thinking about it sometimes because they literally like I wouldn't be where I'm at if they didn't help me.
And they can feel that from you.
Yeah. No, oh my God. And
Massive
they know when
lesson.
they tap in with Uncle Dave, they're gonna get like it's 100% like it's good.
Uncle Dave.
You know? I'll take care of them.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's crazy. Like that's
no, it's awesome.
like you could be bigger. You can explode it.
For
but
sure.
You're creating demand and you're creating like a unique brand by not being so accessible.
Yeah,
in a way, right? I'm just
I got
processing what
I
you're
have this
saying. It's
tattooed right here on my arm. It says I did it my way, and that's as a Sinatra quote.
Right.
But I'm doing it my
Right.
way. You know,
Right.
I don't. A lot of people will tell me this all the time. Like, and I'm so thankful for the advice and I'm so thankful for the direction. But I don't care. I'm doing it my way, and I love it. And I'm not naive or I'm not arrogant by saying that, but I know what works for me because I've learned through failure what's worked for me. And I know that I'm confident in my craft. So
I'm inspired right now.
Nah, I love it.
Like
I love it.
I'm fired up.
I
Right
love
now.
it.
This is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I'm fired up every morning I wake up. Yeah, so that's. I mean, not every morning.
I'm gonna
'cause
call
it's
you
not-
at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
every day.
right.
No more coffee. I'm just calling you.
That's awesome. No, I mean that's what it is.
Coffee
Like,
with Uncle Dave.
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. See, you might have just given me
There's
an
another
idea.
one.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
yeah. I should start really running with these. But yeah, it's cool.
So I think you just brought us to the current. All right. So tell me where. I get the vibe of like who you want to be.
Right.
Where do you see this thing in the next 5, 10 years? Or do you even bother thinking about it?
You know, I do. I mean, I like to have a vision to a certain extent. I would obviously love to keep on going with my eBay because I think that's really cool. And I love I do everything, by the way. I package my orders. Like I said, I have one.
You're kidding.
I package every order. Every order that I have.
That's a
on
personal
eBay.
touch.
Yes.
So that's not scalable.
No.
Right.
No.
But you don't really care because you're not looking to scale at that
Right,
point.
exactly. I love what I'm doing right now. I would be lying if I didn't want to grow. So I'm not just going to say that I just want to be this, 90s kids closet. Like I would like to grow, and I would like to be able to be more than just an online vintage store. But I have a couple. Not to give you a curveball here. My end goal is to design furniture. I would love to be a home decor and just furniture stylist. I love it, and I love furniture. I don't know what about it I just love, but I'm very passionate about shapes and objects and home decor and stuff like that. So I'm using my template here to hopefully put me in the right room when it's all said and done to be able to have David Joseph, which is my middle name, and my own furniture
That's a
company.
great name for a product.
So
That's a great name.
that's my end goal.
Make
which
sure you grab
hopefully, yes, it's
Okay.
Yeah, that's already good. Yeah. I've had David Joseph in the back pocket and burner for a couple years. It originally was going to be my clothing line. So there's a clothing line that's like Fear of God. It's a very popular clothing line right now. And they're just very simple denim and really cool overcoat jackets and really cool pieces and stuff like that. And it was the same kind of genre. And when Jerry Lorenzo, who's the creative director of Fear of God, I've been very fortunate to be in his presence many times and have some cool conversations with him. But he was a huge inspiration to me and stuff like that. And when I saw that he did what he wanted to do with a template that he built for himself, I'm like, okay, but everything comes in time. And I know my time will come where the vintage t-shirts are still doing well and I still love doing it, but when I can put it down and say that was fun, and move on. And the furniture is by far where I'm going into next.
That might give you the freedom
to
actually go and focus on the furniture
right,
while you've still got that.
Right.
I mean, why not keep them both going?
Exactly. That's what I want to do.
But the creativity is like really interesting.
And
where it's like you like to create a feeling for other people, and you get like your own feeling from delivering that feeling to people.
And that's why I haven't scaled the business to where I could, is because exactly what you just said, Matt, is that like, if I didn't have that feeling where like when you came and shop with me, like I'm already tweaked out that there's somebody coming to stop by my showroom right now and I'm not there to be able to like greet them and stuff like that. But that's what it is. Like you obviously can't be everywhere at every time. You know what I'm saying? So like if I had powerful, that, man. That's where it's at, man, is that like I got to where I'm at right now because of that. Is because I've literally never, and I can say this confidently, I am wrong and I'm about a lot of stuff. About a lot of stuff, especially with my mother. I'm always wrong. But in general,
and when you
I've never done. Yeah, it's done, right? It's clipped. Yeah, it's clipped.
Wrong. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
It's good that you already have that.
Exactly. I know. So, but no, that's one thing I can say confidently is that no client will ever be able to say that I didn't put enough time into their relationship. And there's been relationships that haven't worked out. I'm not perfect and stuff like that, but that's life. That's life. And that's why I reference the whole learning path. Like that's my one thing is that you gotta experience every situation so you can learn from it and then you can grow from it. And then you can genuinely feel how it feels to win is aggressively word sometimes, but to win.
So right about now, I would typically say, what would you tell the 25-year-old version of yourself? Except that's not going to work here.
Yes.
Fast forward now, it's you're in your 50s and you're reflecting back on what you're doing right now, even though you learn lessons and you're super self-aware, what might you say to yourself if you were 25 years older than you are today?
What I would say to myself is...
To your 25-year-old
self. What I would say to my 25-year-old self. That's an interesting question.
But you haven't already told me because you covered a lot.
You know what? That's an interesting question. It's just a smile and laugh. I'm a huge, huge advocate of that. Like, if you can't laugh a couple times throughout the day and enjoy what you're doing, then what are you doing it for? So if I would tell myself that as long as you're having fun, and as long as you're successful and stuff like that, just to smile and laugh. And like, that's what it really is. It's like at the end of the day, I have too many of my friends that I know are successful, but they're not like that. Like, we only got one shot at this. You know what I'm saying, Matt? You only got one shot at this.
You only get one shot.
You only got one shot. Yeah, and some people crap out.
Nobody's come back to tell any other story than that.
Exactly. And some people, they look back in 20 years and 40 years and they're like, oh, I wish I would have made more money. Or I wish I would have met this person. Or I wish I would have gone into this. But like, as long as you're having fun. You can't go back. As long as you're having fun. And, when I was playing sports, that's like the one thing that like I take from sports into the fashion is that like I enjoyed it. I had fun, and the minute I wasn't having fun, I gave it up, and that's why I gave up the sports stuff. It got to a point where I felt like it was a job, and I knew that there was something else that I could have fun with.
Yeah, totally.
That's what it is. So
that is great advice.
Yeah, no, that's where it is. Is if you can tell yourself or even if I would tell the 13-year-old self right now, what I would tell as 26, what I would tell myself at 13 when I started getting into this is just to keep going and just to learn and to see if that works out. Because if it doesn't, it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because you can realize like, holy crap, like, I'm at a point in my life where I know what I wanted to do, but then I just got a crazy awakening and now it's really altered my mindset. And not a lot of people have that because they're so suffice in the routine, in the rhythm, going every day.
It's a program.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Same program over
That's
and
what
over.
it is.
And it could be the wrong program.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Right? But you're not.
No, you know.
What does that say again? I did it my way?
I did it my way. Yep.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what it is. You know.
Dude,
So
we're done.
my man.
Here, hold on. This is the COVID shake.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I was saying.
This is the real one.
Thank you, brother. Seriously, this was
tell
a pleasure.
everybody over there where they can find you and whatever you want to say.
So I'm on eBay. My eBay is powered by 12, 12 spelled out. My Instagram is powered by 12 numerically with a 1-2. I have a showroom in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm always available for appointments and stuff like that, but I'm mostly online. So,
Awesome.
if you want to tap in with me, tap in with me. So
his information is going to be down below, so you definitely should reach out to him. And like we said before, do the work, be humble, and hustle. Reach your potential.
That's what it is.
It's all about.
That's what it is. And love what you do.
Love what you do.
And love the people around you, because at the end of the day, that's what's really going to support you, the people around you.
Thanks again, man.
My man, what do you mean? It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.